For me personally, the perception of AI drastically changed in early 2010 when Target figured out that a teenage girl was pregnant before her father did, or even the girl itself. At that time, Target sent out brochures in the mail, and the brochures contained ads for things you usually send to pregnant women, something like cribs, baby clothes, all that kind of stuff. Needless to say, the father didn't really like that, so he talked to customer support and he asked, "Why are you sending my daughter ads for baby stuff? She's a teenager. Are you trying to cast new members for 16 and pregnant, or what's going on?" However, it all changed when a couple of days later, that same father called into customer support to apologize. I quote, "She's due in August. I owe you an apology." While this is a funny haha story for us, it's crazy to think of AI as this being or entity that can predict when we're pregnant solely based on what we shop. I mean, what the fuck? Target? That's the last company that comes to mind when we're talking about AI. If Target was able to do such things in the early 2010s, what the hell are Google, OpenAI, and all these other big tech companies capable of today? How do they know so much about us? The answer is big data and data harvesting. Don't get me wrong, AI is an amazing tool. I love it and I use it almost every day. In fact, so much that I'm thinking about doing my master's in data science somewhere down the line. But the way that AI works nowadays, or the AI that we interact with at least, is basically a parrot on steroids. We feed these models with huge amounts of data that they learn from, and the more data they get, the smarter they become. Essentially, AI models are very, very complex and complicated truth table. These truth tables contain some possible answers based on some criteria that the AI can return to us. Now, for something like ChatGPT, this is incredibly complex. And to increase the accuracy of things like ChatGPT or even the YouTube recommendation algorithm, we need to use a thing called big data. We usually talk about the 3 V's, which are volume, variety, and velocity. And since over a decade, we're going everywhere with a device that helps us reach these 3 V's and gather huge amounts of data, the smartphone. Millions of data points like location, time, what you're doing, watching, or who you're communicating with are recorded, streamed, and transmitted to different companies. The usual claims that businesses and services like ChatGPT, YouTube, etc. make when it comes to collecting your data are they're using it to develop new programs and services, improve the service, and making the user experience better overall. Now, those are some valid points, but why does ChatGPT need your IP address, your browser type, and your settings? And ChatGPT also collects every message or file that you shared with it, including the location, time zone, and much more. This data gets fed back into the model to improve it. And this may sound a bit like ChatGPT or OpenAI bashing at this point, but OpenAI isn't the first company to do so, and it's not the last one. This is a much bigger trend. The security.org team, consisting of 18 subject matter experts, reviewed the privacy policies of Facebook, Twitter, Amazon, Google, and Apple. Those are the top data aggregators of our personal information. Google is leading the hunt for the data. I mean, it figures. Their entire business model is based on data and selling ads. But more on that later. On the other end of the spectrum, we have Apple, which only keeps the data they actually need for your account, making Apple the best choice for privacy, as you can see here. And in between, we have everyone, from Twitter to X or whatever they're called nowadays, to Facebook, Amazon, and all the other social media things that are popping up. Now, one trend in particular amongst all these companies that is visible is that if the company is more product-based, it needs less data and therefore it gathers less data. So Apple, for example, sells their devices directly to you, and most of the profit comes from selling the devices, selling you subscription services, etc., etc., but they don't rely on selling you ads. On the other hand, Google almost has no physical product. I mean, you can count the Pixel, but that's nowhere near the iPhone, I think, in terms of sale. The only products they have is free social media sites like YouTube or the Google search engine. Similar to Facebook, these free services rely heavily on ads for profit. I understand. Running service isn't necessarily cheap. You gotta pay the service somehow. People don't want to pay for the service, so you show them ads and generate some income. But as we're in this era of surveillance capitalism, you want to increase your profits, which means show the user more ads they click on, which means you need to gather as much data about the user so you only show the ads that you are 99% sure they will click on, and so they serve you hyper-specific ads based on your data, and that's why they're gathering it. Now you may be asking yourself, how are they getting my data and how are they using it? I've never given them data, you may even think, and you may be wrong about that. Acquiring data has never been easier. Smart home devices, wearable technology, e-commerce, data brokers, and even the rise of IoT help companies gather as much data as possible. Even browsers like Chrome are monitoring everything you do online nowadays. But one of the main ways that companies can get data about us is by leveraging social media sites. Social media apps like YouTube or TikTok want to make sure that you get content that you actually want to watch. They do this by analyzing how much you watch a certain type of content and how much you interact with it. Did you give it a like? Did you subscribe? Did you unsubscribe? Did you comment? Did you share it? All these type of things are monitored, analyzed, and then fed back into the YouTube algorithm specifically for you. So after watching a couple of videos, YouTube and TikTok then builds a viewership profile based on what you watched, and the YouTube algorithm will suggest more of similar content that you enjoyed. So this means you get hyper-targeted content, and it keeps you on the platform as long as possible, and that's one of the problems that we are going to talk about later in this video. But if you want to get recommended more of my videos, now you know what to do. You should hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't, leave a comment, watch the video as long as possible, maybe even 5 times, and maybe the YouTube algorithm will recommend you more of my videos. Social media isn't the only way to get your data. There are other ways. Sometimes businesses just ask you for your data. For example, you want to download this cheat sheet about Nmap, but you have to sign up for my newsletter. Then I have got your email. And last but not least, companies can get data by simply buying it from data brokers. And that's where the problem starts to come in. All up until now, it may not seem bad to you. Oh no, I get served content that I actually want to watch. What's the point? It's also used to keep you longer on the platform. Whether it's mindlessly scrolling or TikTok, watching YouTube videos one after another, we've all spent more time on the toilet than anticipated just because we got hooked on the algorithm. It can even be used to undermine democracy. Okay, stay with me. I know this sounds crazy, but it's not me that's saying that. I paraphrased an expert on this topic, Harvard Business School professor emerita Shoshana Zuboff. She essentially states that by analyzing our behavior, companies can manipulate our behavior and make us do stuff that we don't actually want, like, for example, buy stuff, but they can also reduce our ability for critical thinking. So not only are they keeping us hooked on devices, selling us stuff we don't need, I'm starting to sound like the intro to Fight Club, but they can even manipulate what or who we vote for. A major example of this undermining democracies thing that we're talking about here is the famous Facebook Cambridge Analytica scandal. Ironic, I'm using AI for this video, which is about AI and data surveillance. But I'm also using social media for this video, so that's the another irony. With the current ability of AI, it can be utilized to monitor individuals in ways that were never possible before. Even facial expressions and other biometric data can be analyzed and used against us. Ever wondered why the Apple Vision Pro scans your eyes and your environment and hand gestures? More on that later. But this is the state of today, and if we learned something in the last decade, is how fast technology can evolve. In an almost dystopian, cyberpunky vision of our future that may not be that far away, this can have massive implications for our privacy. There are already companies like Clearview AI that are using facial recognition and AI to to help out in the war in Ukraine and find participants of the Capitol riots. While this may not sound that bad, this usage could be expanded to publicly shame jaywalkers or get 3D images of our family members and ourselves and our environments. To go back to our previous example of the Vision Pro, such gadgets like the Vision Pro can be used to mine even more data. Eye tracking, for example, enables the interpretations of our most subtle reactions to the content we're served. And the voice commands transmit a lot of data about our current state of well-being. Luckily, we don't have to fight it entirely alone. There are multiple already established and newly proposed privacy regulation laws regarding AI. One of the most commonly known will be the GDPR, a policy most commonly known for the tedious accept cookie banner. But it also offers us the option to not be subject to things like profiling based on our data. And the EU is even working on an AI Act proposal. So while the EU is still working on the proposal, we can take matters into our own hands to protect us against data harvesting, at least partially. ChatGPT, for example, allows you to disable the chat history. This means that your conversation will be deleted after 30 days. And if you don't want to let it use your data to train the model again, you can fill out this form to opt out. Sadly, companies don't need to buy the data or mine it themselves on their own websites to get it. AI tools can sniff out our digital footprints and construct a valid representation of our profiles to sell us stuff. Amazing. Now, fighting this isn't easy, but you can use a VPN, an anonymous web browser, as well as plugins, and use different usernames across different platforms to fight this a little bit. No matter what you do online, whether it's by using AI or not, you should always be wary of what you share online and at least use some form of encryption. Luckily for you, the video on screen covers all the relevant concepts, tools, and techniques about encryption that you need. So make sure to check it out.